waiting to see if the ball is going to be dropped.
Jose Cardinal used to do that all the time, or if Jose was in right field, he loved to do that. Throw behind the runner at first base after a base hit. Carter struck out his first time up.
There's more than one time, Tim, that as a right fielder, I've made it out there.
There's the runner. Safe at second, his second stolen base in a row, and 23 on the season.
It's a fastball down and in. Good quick release by Mike Fitzgerald, but Lenny Dystra in easily.
Russ, I've said this, and I really believe it's true. A lot of times, you know, when you're a catcher, you don't really pause. You're too busy trying to do something, and you are trying to figure out how to say it. But when you become a broadcaster, you figure out how to say it. And I think that 50%, if the jump is not a jump where you have no chance, ball hit to left field, I think Raines is going to get to it, and he does. But if the runner at first doesn't have a chance or doesn't have a good jump, more than 50% of the time, what determines whether he's out or not at second is the pitch that he has to handle, and Fitzgerald didn't have a good pitch to handle. 2-1, Mets on top of the Expos as Steve joins Rusty right after this word from Nissan.
Hey, Steve Zabriske in with you now, along with Rusty Staub, as the Mets lead at 2-1. And Dwight Gooden has been outstanding. Andre Dawson will bat as he was at the plate when the attempted, or what will go as an attempted double steal, didn't come off for the Expos, with Tim Raines being thrown out at home plate. So Dawson starts over against the Doctor, to be followed by Hubie Brooks and Tim Wallet. Check swing roller that's just foul outside first for strike one. Christine will run that one down. Rusty, you and Tim were talking earlier about what will happen to the Montreal Expos with both Andre Dawson and Tim Raines in the last years of their contracts, and they have to, one would think, re-sign Tim Raines. Andre Dawson is another story, and the Expos have had a history of not re-signing all of their players who are making good money and at the end of their contract. Popped up foul and out of play as it's about 6 or 8 rows back.
Andre Dawson has had some problems physically over the last few years. He's always had a problem with his knee. Have to drain it from time to time. They could lose Andre Dawson and maybe make up the ground. But I think losing Timmy Raines, who is, in my opinion, one of the top 5 offensive players in baseball, that's going to really hurt them.
Yeah, he is the heart and soul of their offense. Gooden breaks one off in the dirt, and the count 1 ball, 2 strikes.
He's been the back-to-back MVP, both 84 and 85 for them. Does it all. Drives them in, steals them, scores them.
Yep.
And is actually set an all-time record as a defensive outfielder with a .993 average.
And he has such great speed out there that it gets to a lot of balls. As an example, Ray Knight's in left center that other outfielders don't get to. Boy, another Lord Charles from the Doctor, and another check swing by Dawson, and the count remains 1-2. He almost locked Dawson up right there.
Dawson was very fortunate to get the bat a little bit on the ball that time.
Dwight has been getting his breaking ball over tonight, and that's one of the big differences in this start. There's a fastball that just did miss the outside corner, and the count 2-2. Dwight has struck out 6 through the first 3 innings, while allowing just 1 run on 2 hits. Both hits by Mitch Webster, and neither one scalded. Sharply hit to short. Santana with an easy play going away here in the 4th.
Stepping up, shortstop,
The 6 that Dwight struck out were 6 in a row. The last out of the first inning. He struck out the side in the second and got the first 2 on K's in the third as Bob Ojeda, along with Danny Heap, watch the ball game from our first base camera position. And here's Hubie Brooks, who struck out to end the first inning. Breaking ball, ground grounded foul outside third, strike one. Hubie starting the day today, leading the National League with a .339 batting average. 1 point ahead of teammate Tim Raines at .338. Offense has not necessarily been Montreal's problem. They have a team ERA of 4 and are 10th in the league in pitching. That's one of the main reasons that they are as far behind New York as they are. Hubie hits it out of play, high down the right field line, and the count 0-2. And in 18 games, and Tim mentioned this earlier, the 18 games that Hubie's missed, including 8 in a row with that injured left thumb before Wednesday, the Expos have a 4-14 record. So that's what he means to this club. Just did get a piece of it to foul it back, and the count's still 0-2. Well, we got more than one K corner.
Yeah.
And Dwight Gooden has not been putting up a lot of Ks in his last few starts. But he's gotten 6 through the first 3 here. That fastball just did miss outside, so it's 1-2.
I think the big difference in Dwight today, besides getting his breaking ball and a couple of changeups over, is that he's been in and out better. He's not been pitching on the heart of the plate at all today.
And again, Brooks fouls the fastball back, so it's still 1-2. Dwight appeared to be, for a while, working up and down in the strike zone, which is really something he cannot do. He needs to be up in the strike zone, and I think every pitcher, regardless of his ability, Rusty, has to work in and out to be effective.
Well, he is certainly doing it tonight, Steve.
In the last 11 starts that Dwight Gooden has made, he has a 5-2 record with 4 no decisions. So it's really not as bad as a lot of the media and a lot of the fans would like to think it is. And Hubie swings at one out of the strike zone, but that rising heater is hard to lay off, and it's still 1-2.
Okay, here you're going to see Dwight try to throw a fastball up and by him. And Hubie Brooks does a heck of a job to get a piece of that ball, because that ball was hopping.
He is one fine hitter. One of the few guys you'll ever see who can get a little bit fooled to where he sticks his rear end out one way, but because he keeps his hands back, he can still hit the ball with authority. And he hits this one by Knight down the line, and it could be extra bases. Mitchell runs it down, but Hubie Brooks cruising into second base with an easy double with 1 out here in the 4th inning. It's the 3rd Montreal hit.
Steve, you couldn't have said it any better. He hits this ball just by Ray Knight. Ray makes a good effort.
For Brooks' 18th double of the year, as Carter goes out to have a word with Gooden. And here's Tim Wallach, who struck out looking to open the 2nd inning.
We didn't get another look at that, Steve, but it's almost exactly what you were talking about. He threw him a good breaking ball. He kind of moved on the pitch, and then his hands came into play. And he hit the ball very firmly down the third base line by Ray Knight for a double.
And a great lesson for young hitters. You can do a lot of things with your body if you are fooled, but if your hands are still back, you still have something left with which to hit the ball.
As long as you're not striding too hard at the pitcher, you can be fooled a little bit, and your hands can still be there. You get your body too active and moving too fast toward that pitcher, you're going to run into trouble.
Start lunging at everything. One ball to count to Wallach. He's right there at the knees, 1-1.
It's very similar to the pitch that Tim Wallach took for a 3rd strike the last time up. Looks like Dwight wants to make up for those 2 ding-dings he took him deep on in Montreal.
No, he hasn't forgotten that. And a good high fastball fouled back above us. So it's 1-2. Teammates call him Eli for obvious reasons. And Eli, other than that one ball game in Montreal, would have a higher career batting average if it were not for the doctor. He's now 3 for 25. we're back to form. Not only is Dwight Gooden back on track, but Tim Wallach back to his old self. He has struck out twice against the Doctor.
It's another power fastball up and in. He just beats Tim Wallach.
7th strikeout for Gooden. And the batter now is Wayne Krenchicki, who has been the antithesis of Tim Wallach. Krenchicki now 8 for 20 against Dwight lifetime after he struck out in the 2nd inning. Brooks at second now with 2 out. Ball 1. Krenchicki with that open stance. And I guess if there was any guy you were going to open up against, this would be the guy. Breaking ball right in there. 1-1. When Dwight Gooden brings Lord Charles with him to the ballpark, he is his awesome self.
When I was first coming up, Steve, having the, I guess you could say, the pleasure and displeasure to face Sandy Koufax. When Sandy brought the curveball with him, it was good night, Irene. We'll see you later.
Get some loud fouls, you're happy. 2 balls, 1 strike.
In fact, I would say Sandy Koufax is probably the most dominant pitcher. The guy who really dominated people more than any pitcher I'd ever seen.
He was unbelievable. I was a youngster on the West Coast and used to go to a lot of those great Dodger-Giant rivalries. Man, see, he and Drysdale pitched to Willie Mays was really something. Way high, and it's now 3-1 to Krenchicki. Dwight having a problem after getting the curveball over to Krenchicki, finding the strike zone with his fastball, as he's missed with 3 of them. Fastball grounded to Hernandez, who gets a high hop and gets it to Gooden the end of the inning. A hit and 1 left in the 4th for Montreal, and after 3.5, the Mets still lead their 2nd place rivals 2-1, and we're back after this for Metropolitan Life.
Child abuse is a parent's greatest fear. Join Channel 9 for a realistic look at the problems and the preventions of this growing phenomenon. Sunday evening at 8 o'clock.
Bottom of the 4th inning here at Shea, and the Mets holding a 2-1 lead over Montreal. The Expos, the only team in the league to hold an advantage over the Mets so far this season. They have won 4, while the Mets have won 2 of the previous 6 games played. And for New York here in the 4th inning, it's going to be Darryl Strawberry, Kevin Mitchell, and Ray Knight against Floyd Yeomans. Strawberry looked at a called 3rd strike to end the 1st inning. But Darryl entered the game hitting .316 against Montreal with 2 home runs. And he takes a fastball inside, ball 1. Strawberry also has hit .325 over the last 48 ball games. Strike at the knees, 1-1. Two balls, 1 strike.
Let us hope that Darryl Strawberry is not like Samson.
Leave all that strength on the cutting room floor, as it were. Yeomans took something off of it, but it was high. So it's 3-1 to Darryl.
I don't think you could call Kevin Mitchell Delilah anyway, could you?
No. And ball 4. So Strawberry walks to open the 4th inning. It's the 2nd walk issued by Yeomans. The Mets have a base runner aboard with nobody out for Mitchell, who tripled and scored his last time up. Tim Burke begins to throw in the Montreal bullpen. Mitchell's first major league triple as he ripped one over Dawson's head in right field and scored on a sacrifice fly by Ray Knight. That run giving the Mets their 2-1 lead.
And I have never seen Andre Dawson fooled by a ball that was hit that hard to right field in a long time.
There's a strike to Mitchell. Well, we've said it a lot that the toughest ball for an outfielder to judge is the ball hit right at him. But usually it's tougher in center field because you don't have the angle that you do in left or right. Mitchell breaks his bat and hits a little looper to Tom Foley, one away. Strawberry still at first. And speaking of Darrell, as Ray Knight will be the batter, some of the players and I were at a dinner function last night.
Coming around.
And one of the fellows at the dinner presented Darrell with a bald Cabbage Patch doll in a Mets uniform. There was a resemblance.
What's next?
Knight, who drove in the lead run for the New York Mets with a sacrifice fly, and Tim Raines with a fine running catch in left center to really rob him of a base hit, and a pitch out for ball one with Darrell not going anywhere. Strawberry does have 22 stolen bases on the year.
Darrell's another guy who, as he gets older, is going to, I think, get better and better at stealing bases. He doesn't get a big enough lead at first base at this time.
He bluffs going, but time was called, and Yeomans did not go through with the pitch. No balk, because Billy Williams, the home plate umpire, had called time.
And if we can get a look at Darrell, Mr. Webb, we'll show that he really doesn't get a real big lead. He has a, as tall as he is and as quick as he is, he can get a much bigger lead at first base.
Well, I think Darrell rarely goes back into first with a dive, and that's probably one reason that he doesn't want to get off very far. Because he's 6'6", he could get off twice as far if he would dive back and be back easily.
He's only like 2 steps off the bag.
Mike Fitzgerald apparently has something in his eye, and so Billy Williams is helping him remove it, and now asking for the Montreal trainer to come out. So time is called.
I think that's one of the things when Bobby Valentine was working with the base runners early, when he was the third base coach and the base running coach here. He talked about getting a good lead and pushing off real quick.
And some guys are doing it. One guy who does it pretty well is Len Dykstra. And Dykstra is the MetLife Met of the Month. The Met Player of the Month for the month of July. Lenny in 24 games hit .357. He scored 14 runs, had 9 doubles, 2 triples, 3 homers, and 15 RBI. And Knight fouls it off with Strawberry running this time. So Darrell back to first in the count 1-1. So Lenny, who was presented with the MetLife Met of the Month award prior to tonight's game, also in the running for the National League Player of the Month, I would have to think.
I would think so too, Steve. And on that particular play, Ray Knight tried to go to right field. Second baseman Tom Foley vacated, left a big hole.
And Darrell this time sort of sliding back in, sort of leaning back to the bag.
Sometime down the line in his career, I think Darrell Strawberry has a chance of being in that 40-40 club, maybe even the 50-50.
Knight with a base hit up the middle. Strawberry not running on the play, so he'll stop at second as Webster gets it back in.
You see Ray Knight hit a pretty nice pitch, a fastball down over the middle of the plate, but down. Nice stroke to center field, right back through the mound.
As Mr. Rose likes to say, through the originator. Fourth hit for New York, and here's Rafael Santana, who grounded to short his first time up. Raffy's still looking for his first hit against Montreal, and he takes a slider low and away, ball 1. Well, the Tides beat Maine tonight. Barry Lyons with a home run, and the AAA affiliate of the Mets leading the International League. They have almost as gaudy a record as the Mets.
13 games over 500.
2 balls to count to Santana. And a fastball and a base hit to center field. Strawberry rounding third. Webster's throw to the plate. Not on line and not in time. Rafael Santana picks up only his 11th RBI of the year, and the Mets lead it 3-1.
Yeomans throws a fastball all over the plate. Rafael Santana goes right back through the originator again. And this throw looked like it might have had a chance to get Darryl Strawberry, but it tailed off heavily at the end. Here you see him coming over the top. Looks like it's going to be a decent throw, and at the end it hits the ground and just tails way off to the outside of the plate. Darryl Strawberry's in there easy.
Knight stopping at second on the play as the hairless one makes it 3-1. Dwight Gooden takes low, ball one. Gooden lined out to Dawson in right field his first time up to end the second inning. Still only one out with runners at first and second. The infield in at first and third. Double play depth at second and short. Line drive on a one hopper to second baseman Foley, who goes to Brooks, and Brooks taken out of the play by Santana, but the ball retrieved by Krenchicki, so Knight had no chance to advance home from third. But a good job by Santana to prevent Brooks from completing the double play. Gooden safe at first, runners at first and third with two out.
Dwight hits it right off the end of the bat. Foley makes a nice relay, a little high maybe, and I don't know what happened there. It looks like it might have hit Rafael Santana in the hand. There's the relay. Rafi slides, his arm goes up. Oh, he hit his hand. That's what he did. The ball did not hit Rafael Santana. Rafael Santana hit Eubie Brooks's arm.
So Len Dykstra, the batter, with runners at first and third, and Lenny takes outside ball one. Dykstra with a walk and a single. He has stolen two bases and scored a run. Dykstra is now hit in 17 of his last 20 games. Fouls this one off and the count 1-1. Over the last 47 games, we talked about the month of July. There's Santana, who made the good play at second and also drove in the run. But over the last 47 games Dykstra's been in, he's hit .381.
He's been smoking.
And he drives one to left, but Tim Raines is right there, and the inning is over. But the Mets add a run here in the fourth inning on two base hits, and they leave two. And at the end of four, New York leads Montreal 3-1. We're back after this for Manufacturers Hanover. And we'll check out the Nissan National League scoreboard.
In the sixth inning, the Phillies and the Cubs all tied at 2 apiece. In the seventh inning, the Pirates 4, Cardinals nothing. The Braves, Giants, the Astros, Padres, and the Reds, Dodgers all later.
Mike Fitzgerald to lead it off, bottom third of the order here in the fifth for Montreal. Fitzgerald struck out to end the second inning, looking at a called third strike. In that string of 6 that Dwight Gooden struck out in a row between the first and third innings. He has struck out a total of 7 through the first 4. And a ground ball right up the middle for a base hit into center field on the first pitch from Gooden. So Fitzgerald, who entered the game hitting .526 with a home run against the Mets, continues doing well against New York pitching.
Mike Fitzgerald also went right back through the middle. Whenever you have outstanding pitching, that's the way to hit. You try to come on hard on the ball and try to pull the ball. When you have someone like a Dwight Gooden on the mound, you're going to come up short most of the time.
Fourth hit for Montreal. And here's Tom Foley, who also struck out his first at bat. And the fastball is low, ball 1. Foley is expected to be the primary second baseman the rest of the way for Montreal. Vance Law is now going to platoon at first base with Krenchicki. Law playing against left-handed hitting or pitching, and Krenchicki, as he is tonight, playing against right-handed pitching. And that fastball right by Tom Foley. 1-1.
Keith Hernandez originally started behind Mike Fitzgerald, has come back to first base to hold him on. Mike Fitzgerald not too subject to trying to steal a base.
He has only 3 this season. And Gooden going over there. But as you see, Keith is actually off the bag, so he's just sort of semi-holding. Well, the doctor has not faced too many guys so far. He has, especially with that string of 6 strikeouts. When he struck out the side in the second, he's only faced 1 more than the minimum in 3 of the 4 innings. Line to Backman. They could have a double play, and they do. No! The ball was there in plenty of time, but first base umpire Joe West said that Hernandez did not have control. And Keith is upset, I think, with himself. Backman's throw beat Fitzgerald by a wide margin.
There you see it. Wally makes a good hard throw to first base, and the ball moved on Keith, and he did not have possession. It's a good call by Joe West. And to get a good view of it here, the ball hit right on the edge or the heel of the glove, went up to the top, and he had to grab it a second time.
A good alert call by Joe West. So only 1 out on the play, and here's Floyd Yeomans, and he slaps a fastball to right field. Strawberry coming hard. They may get it this time, but Darrell can't get a grip on the ball to make the throw to first.
You're right there, Steve. Darrell sees it, and he almost gets a little bit too excited. He wants to get it out of his glove. He just couldn't get a grip on it. You see a different angle? He sees he might have a chance, but he just can't grip it in his hand. And he makes the wise choice not to throw it.
So 2 out in the inning, and Fitzgerald's still at first as Hernandez reties a shoelace. And Tim Raines will take his sweet time getting into the box as he'll try to give Yeomans a chance to sit down for a minute. Raines has walked twice, scored a run, and been thrown out at the plate.
That's something that in this day and age in the big leagues you would think is automatic, that things would be thought of like that. But actually, I have never been more surprised than in the last few years. I guess it's because so many young people are coming up and they're very anxious to get to the plate. But that's just something that should be done all the time. If the pitcher makes an out, you should take your time getting up there to make sure he gets a chance to breathe.
Especially with 2 outs in the inning. Raines takes low, ball 1. But Tim and I have joked about it before, where you need to see guys working on their stalling in spring training. You know? But a guy like Len Dykstra, he's got to, somebody's got to holler at him because he's going to jump right in there.
He's ready.
He wants to swing that bat. Raines goes after a high one out of the strike zone, and it's 1-1. Fitzgerald now not being held on at first base by Hernandez with 2 out.
In this situation with Tim Raines, the leadoff hitter, if he does get 2 strikes on Tim Raines, Dwight Gooden should at least be aware of the fact that Mike Fitzgerald may run in that situation, so that even if he gets thrown out, Tim Raines will lead off the next inning. Should at least make sure that he takes a peek a little bit.
Keith playing behind Fitzgerald, the runner at first. And as the pitch is made, he will move back into the position. High again. 2 balls, 1 strike. Raines has been hit red hot for a long time. There's a good reason why he's hitting .338 on the year. He got off to a very slow start at the plate, but over the last 80 games, and Montreal has only played 97 this year, over the last 80, Raines has hit right about .360. He's had streaks in there of 17 in a row and 14 in a row. So he has really been consistent at the plate after a slow start. Gooden stepping off.
Gary Carter must be thinking along with me, even though there isn't 2 strikes.
2 balls, 1 strike. Often a good pitch on which to run, however. Fitzgerald not running, and Raines grounds it to second. Backman back on the grass, throws him out, and the inning is over. So a leadoff single by Fitzgerald, and he is stranded at third. As we will go to the bottom of the 5th inning, or stranded at first, I should say, and the Mets their umbrellas up as we showed you at the end of the last inning. We couldn't even see any rain at that time, nor feel it. And all of a sudden, the skies opened up, and a deluge began to pour down on Shea Stadium. The game obviously was stopped. This is how the guys got the tarps on the field, and this is how it looks right now. I mean, people sprung into action. There was no warning. There was no inkling. Obviously, because it's dark, we couldn't see any clouds in the sky, but it didn't even feel like rain, did it?
No, as beautiful a night as it was, we talked about it 3 or 4 times. It was just a marvelous evening to play baseball. And I mean, I thought I was about ready to say, you know, some of the people in this stadium may not have a full deck because it's been such a gorgeous night. They started popping these umbrellas, and I've never seen a rain come like that.
I mean, it's not raining half as hard as it was. And it's still raining hard. Those folks are still there. They have nowhere to go, I guess. But they came prepared. You got to say that for them. But it started raining instantly and tremendously just out of nowhere.
The ground crew was dragging the infield, and 2 or 3 of the guys had to just drop their stuff and go try to put the tarp on the field. And here we're going to see a few scores in the National League. In the 8th inning, the Cubs 2, Phillies 2. A final in Pittsburgh. The Pirates 4 over the Cardinals 0. And all the games later, the Braves at the Giants, the Astros at the Padres, and the Reds in Los Angeles. American League scores. First game of the doubleheader, the Indians defeated the Yankees 4-3. In the 5th, 2-2. A final in Milwaukee. The Rangers 7, Milwaukee 2. In the 9th inning, the Red Sox 5, the Royals 3. In the 8th, the Orioles 7 and the Blue Jays 3. In Minnesota, in the 4th inning, the Twins lead the A's 1-0. In the 6th, the Tigers 5 and the White Sox 0. In a final in Seattle, the Angels 3, Mariners 2.
And right here, we have played 5 complete innings. The game is legal, and the Mets are leading 3-1. 3 runs on 5 hits, no errors for the Mets. 1 run on 4 hits and no errors for the Expos. And it happened right as the bottom of the 5th inning ended, with Kevin Mitchell lining out to Tom Foley, the Expos second baseman. And just to recap how the scoring went, Montreal scored in the 1st inning. Tim Raines led off the game with a walk. Mitch Webster hit a little flare parachute into left field that probably didn't bend the grass when it landed, but it got Raines to third base, where he scored on Andre Dawson's sacrifice fly to right, and it was 1-0 Montreal. The Mets came back in their half of the 1st inning as Dykstra led off with a walk and stole second and scored on Hernandez, who hit a similar slicing flare to left field to drive him in for Keith's 43rd RBI of the year. Then in the 2nd, the Mets took the lead as Kevin Mitchell led off the inning with his first major league triple, and Ray Knight, the next hitter, hit a fly ball into left center field that Tim Raines ran down, and it turned out to be a sacrifice fly and an RBI for Knight, his 46th. And the Mets led 2-1. Then in the 4th inning, Strawberry led off the inning with a walk. After one man had been retired, Ray Knight singled to center, moving Strawberry, and then Rafael Santana with a base hit up the middle drove in Strawberry from second to give the Mets a 3-1 lead. It was Santana's 11th RBI of the year. Dwight Gooden in the ball game has struck out 7 through the first 5 innings, and he struck out 6 of those in a row. Here's a comparison of the 2 pitchers after 5 innings of work. Dwight's 6 in a row, the 2nd time that he has struck out. Back here at Shea, where the game is in the hands of the umpiring crew. The Mets, as you see, on the field and warming up. There is some drizzle still coming down. They had removed the tarp, and they're now going to put it back on. They had removed the tarp. They had spread the absorbent material around home plate and the pitcher's mound. And it appeared as if we were going to resume play. There was also some concern on the part of the umpires with regard to lightning, as these are thunderstorms. And you heard, if you were watching News 9's rain delay edition of the news, you heard Lloyd Lindsey Young talk about the fact that plenty of rain was still in the area and that they were in the form of thunderstorms, or that the rain was in the form of thunderstorms. And it started to rain again here a little bit harder, as you see. So after a few moments of no rain whatsoever, it has started to drizzle again, and along with the lightning, the umpires have thought the better of it, and both teams appeared to be ready to go. But the tarp is being put back on the field, and this crowd somewhat disappointed because, Rusty, they had their 7th sellout here at Shea tonight, with a total in the house of 49,771, a paid crowd of 47,883. So just a shade under 50,000 on hand. And now we don't know how long the wait will be. They did not restart the game, so we're still in the same rain delay, which started at 9:40. And the minimum that they have to wait if it continues to rain is 1 hour and 15 minutes. That would be 10:55 before they would actually call the game.
That's right, Steve. If they would have started the game, the second rain delay, you have to wait 45 minutes. And then any further rain delay, 30 minutes each time. After you have the first 30-minute rain delay, though, I believe they don't have to wait unless they they have to wait 30 minutes, but they don't have to restart the game.
Right, 30 minutes before they call the game.
And one of the things that we can tell you about, fans, is that it looks like Davey Johnson has made a decision to not bring Dwight Gooden out after this rain delay. He had Roger McDowell warming up in the bullpen. The Montreal Expos, on the other hand, did not have anyone warming up. They were waiting. And I don't know exactly what they plan to do, but with this long a delay with a young man like Floyd Yeomans, I would think they would be a little protective.
Well, I did see Floyd Yeomans down there throwing, though, as they were removing the tarp from the field. Now, it could be that they were having him throw to see how he felt, if he was too stiff to come back. But it did appear as if it was going to be McDowell starting the inning in relief of Gooden, and Yeomans was throwing in the Montreal bullpen. So now there's the Montreal bullpen. All everyone can do is continue to wait in the ground.
6 games this year with an 8-5 record, an earned run average of 2.26 with 10 saves. And as you see Roger tying his shoelaces, Roger is in the top 10 in appearances. In fact, I believe, Steve, could you check this? I think he's second or third in the league in appearances.
Rogers actually tied for 7th, but he is close. Tim Burke is second. Lefferts leads with 55 games. Craig Lefferts of San Diego. And Roger, now with his 47th, is tied for 6th in the National League at the moment. They're all bunched.
Well, Burke must be the guy that I have in my mind, because I know he's been up and down a lot for the Montreal Expos this year. He's almost been their big setup man for Jeff Reardon, the Terminator. Sure, I am never again going to start talking about what a beautiful day it is to play baseball. It's hard to believe we had this rain.
Well, it was beautiful when the game started. It was a perfect evening. The humidity has been low. The temperature has been well below normal. But it's even cooler now after the hour and a half of rain. So Mitch Webster out of the dugout. Webster 2 for 2 in the ball game, with singles in the first and the third. 2 of the 4 Montreal hits.
And in one of the other big plays in this game, early in the game, after a walk to Tim Raines, Mitch Webster was picked off first base by Dwight Gooden.
Back in the first inning. And that, along with the play at the plate on which Raines was thrown out after Webster in the third inning broke and was picked off from first but went down to second. 2 key plays here. So McDowell with his first pitch, and it's a ball to Webster. Webster entered the game hitting .380 over the last 20 in which he has appeared. And he hits it hard on the ground, but Hernandez picks it and McDowell covers, 1 away. Keith makes it look so easy.
Well, Keith Hernandez does not look like he was not ready for this. Came out ready to roll. Makes a nice play. Gives a very good feed to Roger McDowell.
Perfect lead, eye high. Can't ask for more than that.
Right out of spring training.
Now the Hawk, Andre Dawson, will stand in. Dawson drove in the only Montreal run with a sacrifice fly in the first. His 41st RBI of the year. And he takes low, ball 1. Dawson also grounded to short in the 4th. 1 out, nobody on in the top of the 6th inning. Well hit to left field. Mitchell coming over. Does he catch it? No. He does not, says second base umpire Frank Pulley. And Mitchell coming in to complain, but to no avail. It's a single for Dawson.
Well, we're going to get a look at it right here. Here's Kevin going in. That looks like a catch almost. We may get another shot of it. Andre Dawson obviously hits the ball about as hard as you can hit it. It's a sinking liner. Tevin Mitchell moves on the ball fairly well. And that looks like a catch. What do you think, Steve?
I thought he caught it. I thought he caught it the first time. And
here's the one. Now watch the ball. It looks like it hits right in the fingers of the glove. Never touches the grass.
Well, if it isn't, it's as close as you can get without catching it. But it goes as a base hit. And Hubie Brooks takes a strike. Brooks doubled his last time up. He struck out in the first inning. And now hitting .340 on the year to, temporarily anyway, continue to lead the National League in batting. 1-1. He'll be back in action after missing 8 games with an injured left thumb. He returned to the lineup Wednesday night. The Expos, like the Mets, had yesterday off. Dawson chased back. Dawson has 12 stolen bases, but he does not run with the regularity that he once did because of his recurring knee problems. Two balls, one strike to Brooks. Hubie's left thumb is still taped and padded.
That almost looks the same as the wrap they were using on Darryl Strawberry last year.
Very similar injury.
In fact, he even wraps now.
Yep. Darryl's was far more serious, however, as it required surgery and caused him to miss about a month and a half. McDowell now behind 3 balls, 1 strike. 1 out with Dawson at first. Dawson running, and the pitch is a strike, and the throw in time. The Expos, who have stolen 127 bases on the year, are 0 for 2 tonight.
Dawson gets a decent jump here. He takes a look. Here's the throw. And he's out. And I'll tell you, that's a bad slide. That's that fall away slide that if he goes straight into the bag, he's going to be safe here, I think. You see his front foot is so far away from the bag. If he'd have gone straight into the bag, I think Andre Dawson would have been safe.
I think you're right. And that straight in slide, certainly the most effective. Ball 3 to Brooks while we watch the replay. Or ball 4, I should say, to Brooks. So he'll be at first for Tim Wallach. With 2 out now, Wallach struck out twice against Dwight Gooden. And he fouls it off for strike 1. Wallach entered the game hitting .259 with 16 homers and 58 RBIs. He's having, as far as the power numbers are concerned, his best year in the big leagues. And he grounds another one foul, and it's 0-2.
This is the time when you need a guy not only in the booth but in the dugout to kind of fire everybody up here, Steve.
Get your engine restarted.
Get them rolling.
Kickstart those bodies. On the ground to short, Santana will go to Backman, and the inning is over. A hit and 1 left here in the 6th inning for Montreal. The Mets still lead at 3-1 over the Expos after 5.5. Now here's a word from Burger King.
Warming up, Tim Burke has been in 51 games with a 7-4 record, 2.66 earned run average with 4 saves. He's walked 40 men, struck out 57, has given up 66 hits in 74 1/3 innings.
And he's only allowed 4 home runs this year. He has been, as you mentioned earlier, Rusty, the setup man for the Terminator, Jeff Reardon, in his 2nd in the league in appearances. In doing so, Reardon, the #1 save man in the National League with 23.
Jeff Reardon has actually completed 32 of the Expo games. Tim Burke has finished 18 of them.
Burke will be facing the bottom third of the New York order. Ray Knight, Rafael Santana, and then Roger McDowell. Yeomans pitches 5 innings, charged with 3 runs on 5 hits. He struck out 2 and he walked 4, one of those intentionally, and he threw 2 wild pitches and leaves as the losing pitcher. Knight is 1 for 1. Ray drove in a run with a sacrifice fly in the 2nd, and he singled to center back in the 4th. And a breaking ball misses low and away. Ball 1. Ray's RBI was his 46th of the year to go with 9 home runs. Ball 2 from Burke. Tim Burke with that unusual method, you might even call it unique, of putting the ball in the glove and bringing it to his pitching hand. Something he started doing in AAA a couple of years ago. Gets him with the downer. 2 balls, 1 strike. There is Jane Fonda, her husband Tom Hayden just to the right.